believe it or not, we're almost done. Okay? Isn't that a good feeling? We've been talking about your research paper for a long time. Now, let's flip off the research paper for a minute. All of you during the course of this semester have worked hard to make yourself a better writer. And we told you in the beginning that you were the only person who could make yourself a better writer. And you've pretty much all worked hard at doing that. Okay? What's interesting is when I tell you to make something perfect, it comes out pretty close to perfect. And that should tell you and me that you're capable of really good writing. Okay? So anytime that you work on something, you want to take it through the writing process that we've talked about. But before you actually submit it or use it for anything, take the time to make it perfect. You all know how to do that. You have all shown me that you know how to do that. So I've been using that word perfect a number of times, and I used some comments like pursue excellence. That's the only thing that's worth your time. Things like that. Okay. That's what you want your writing to be. So again, I feel like you've been very successful in what you've done in this course because just about everybody has made the effort to make things perfect, to make themselves a better writer, and that's what we're all about. A couple of things I want to reinforce in you because some of you haven't completely overcome this thing yet. The word THERE, only use that word when you mean a place. Otherwise, it's a dummy word. So to start out with a sentence to use a sentence like, when I looked in the room, I noticed there were only 2 students in there. You're making it weak. If you said, when I looked in the room, I noticed only 2 students were in there, then you're putting emphasis on the 2 students, not on the there. And the 2 students are what count. Okay? So that's one big thing. Pretty much everybody has overcome the problem of run-on sentences. Pretty much everybody has overcome the problem of writing fragments. All of you have learned how to develop paragraphs. You've done a nice job with your arguments, and they're going very well. So, for individual writing assignments and making yourself a better writer, and so getting to what we viewed as the goals of this course in the first place, you guys have done very well. You've pleased me a great deal. You've made my semester pretty darn enjoyable. Okay? Now, we've talked about the research paper for a long time, and so now is the time when the rubber hits the road. Okay? We had you do outlines. We had you write introductory paragraphs. Okay? We talked to you about works cited. We talked to you about gathering information. Over and over, we've said to you that every piece of information you take from somebody else, even if it comes out all in your words, it's still somebody else's information, and so you have to give them credit for it. Okay? That's an important part of the paper, and we're going to touch upon that in this video in a little bit. I want to point out to you that in your textbook, and I think there's only one person that doesn't have the same textbook that we do, documenting sources in MLA style goes from page 458 to 468. In those 10 pages, they show you how to make every kind of in-text citation or parenthetical reference that you're going to need. So if you have questions, that's the place to look. Okay, so what are we talking about? You take information from somebody else, you put it in your paper, and that's going to be most of your paper. And most of your paper is going to be paraphrases, which means taking somebody else's idea and putting it in your own words. But again, it's somebody else's idea. You have to tell where it comes from. Okay? So, hopefully you can kind of make this out. Yeah, you can. Let me take this sheet away from the back of it. I think it'll be a little better. So I made squiggly lines rather than right words, but you can see that there's information going across here. This is page 2 in your paper. There's a little 2 up in the corner. Okay. Number the pages of your paper. Okay. So you're telling something, and then that something that you're telling comes to an end here. Now notice there's no quotation marks around it, which means this is a paraphrase. And in here you see Decker 4. Okay, what does that mean? We've talked about works cited. Okay, and I told you that in your works cited, things go in alphabetical order, and you start with the author's last name. So if you look at the third one down here, it starts with Decker. So we saw Decker in your text on the other sheet. Okay, here's that Decker. Here's all the information about that publication. And exactly where in that publication can we find this idea? Going back to your parenthetical reference, it says 4. That means page 4 in Decker's book. Okay, so we go on a little bit more. We have another idea that comes up, and then we see Garbanzo 29. Okay, so what does that mean? In our works cited, our fourth entry here is by somebody named Garbanzo. Okay, and this gives all of the publishing information on that work. So the parenthetical reference pointed the reader to here. And now where exactly in this book? Back to your parenthetical reference, page 24. Okay, so that's what these things mean. Now, following that Garbanzo reference, we had a quote. You see the quotation marks here? That means what's coming in here is a direct quote. Okay, and what's coming in these lines right here? The quotation marks start here, and they go down to where the quote ends. Okay, right here, and then right after that, we have where that came from, Miller 674. Okay, and that means this quote came from a book by somebody named Miller. Well, what book is it? We look at our works cited, and here's Miller, all the information about his book. Okay, so we know which book now. And again, we said back here, page 674. So that's primarily how your in-text references go. The purpose of your in-text references is so your reader can get to exactly where you got your information from. Now, let me fill that in a little bit more, because I noticed in some of your samples that you gave me this week, some of you wrote things like, in Henry Miller's book, Why Marilyn Dumped Me, okay? Miller, Henry, Why Marilyn Dumped Me. Or in his book, Why Marilyn Dumped Me, Henry Miller wrote. Okay, so you've already told right within your text where the information is coming from. Then all you'd need in the parentheses is the page number, because your text itself already said where it came from. So if you're using that style where you mention the author's name right in the text, right in your sentences, not in parentheses, but right in your sentences, then all you'd need in your parentheses is a page number. Okay. If it's an internet article, then what you'd need in your parentheses, what you'd need is enough of the internet address so that when somebody looks at your works cited, they know which internet article you're talking about. Okay? So the parentheses guide you to the works cited, and then the works cited guides you back to the information in the text or in the parentheses. Between the two of them, somebody can find exactly where you are. Most of the time on internet articles, there are no page numbers. So there aren't. So you don't make them up. You just don't have page numbers. Okay? If you have works that don't have authors' names, they just have titles, then in your parentheses, you'd have the title. So that information is all in your book from page 458 to 468. If you don't have the textbook, and maybe not all of you bought it, then just Google MLA in-text citations. MLA in-text, T-E-X-T, citations. and that will give you you'll find a whole directory of what you need, okay? I want to show you what a works cited looks like one more time. I've done this now 3 times, but I want to make sure everybody has it straight. Now, yours is going to be typed, of course, but notice we have the word works cited across the top of the page. Then, starting from the margin, we have the first line in each entry. When we get down to the second line, we've indented 6 spaces. And then down, the next one happens to start on the next line. So that's over at the margin, the next entry. And then we've indented 6 spaces. If this were if this one were 3 lines long instead of just 2, we'd have another row that lines up with this. Okay, but each time you begin a new entry, you come over to the margin. And notice, there's the same space between this line and this line as there is between this line and this line. This is equally spaced all the way through. So we are not doing additional double spacings between entries. Again, notice alphabetical order, okay, and no numbers in front of these things. Okay, now we talked about that 2 videos ago, but I just wanted to review that again. So, here's where we sit. I want you now to get done with your research papers. I've been encouraging you for a long time to gather information, put it all on little cards. We showed you how to take those cards and set up an outline. And from that outline, that's kind of the backbone of your paper. You take the outline and the extra information that's on your cards, and you develop your paper. Most of your information is going to come from research. So that means you document most of your information. So you're going to have a fair number of parenthetical references, things in parentheses. How many? No answer to that, okay? You may have a very statistically based topic, so you may have a whole lot of statistics that you need to document. You may have a topic where there's long developed ideas, and so you may have many fewer parenthetical references. So it depends on your topic. Just keep in mind that the information you take from somebody else, you have to show in your research paper, okay? Now, I want the research papers at my home, and I'll put the address on Moodle this week, but I want these research papers at my home by Monday, May 1st, I believe it is. I believe that's the date. Tuesday, May 1st, okay? So that's like, today's the 19th, so that's like 12 days from now, okay? Now, couple of things I need to remind you of. If you want to have a formal title page, that's okay. If you don't want to have a formal title page, that's okay too. The book shows you how to do it without a formal title page, okay? I personally like formal title pages, but that's up to you. Your outline is part of your paper. It's not a table of contents, so don't put any page numbers after, Roman numeral 1 and the idea, and then don't put page numbers. Just list the ideas. Do not break your paper up into chapters, like Roman numeral 1, develop that area, and then Roman numeral 2 and develop that. Don't break it up into chapters like that. Yeah, follow the format that you have in your outline, but in the actual body of your paper, don't have any new chapter headings. The whole thing should be one continuous flow all the way through, okay? So, if you get done with a section and you're halfway through the page, the next line, the next section starts. Don't just leave half a page blank. You are to write 5 to 7 pages of text. So you have a title page if you want a title page, the outline, 5 to 7 pages of text, double spaced, size 12, okay? And then a separate sheet for your works cited. So you want to have a minimum of 7 or 8 pages in this whole thing. Number your pages. The first page of text is page 1. The title page is in page 1. The outline is in page 1. The first page of text is page 1. Okay? So, again, one continuous flow all the way through. You may come across a situation where you have some very long quotes. If you have a quote that is 5 or more lines long, so a really long quote. I gave you a sample here of one that's 6 lines long. This is a long quote. all these pages. Notice it's indented all the way down. All 6 of those lines are indented. That's how you show that it's a long quote, by having each line indented, okay? There are no quotation marks around it, because indenting it like this all the way down shows that that is a long quote. And again, you don't do this for short quotes. You do this for quotes 5 or more lines long. And then at the end of it, of course, your parenthetical reference. Now, you all have my phone number. You all have my text number. You all have my email address. And also, I will make sure I check Moodle pretty much every day. So I'll put something on Moodle, some kind of, assignment research paper. And if you have any questions, then either text me or email me or put them on Moodle. Do that so you can get to me right away, or call me on the phone so we can talk about it. Okay. But I want your research papers at my home, not in the school mailbox. I do not want them emailed. Okay. Do not email your research papers to me. You can bring them to my home, or you can mail them to my home, or you can send them by Pony Express to my home, or if you have some kind of missile, you can rocket them to my home. I don't care. I want them at my home no later than Tuesday, May 1. Now, if perchance, and put them right in my front door. You can ring the doorbell. If nobody answers, then just put them in the front door. I have a storm door, so put them between the storm door and the front door. Okay? But, that's where I want the papers. Here, not at Trocaire. And do not email me your paper. I do not want it emailed. That's a pain in the neck trying to print all that stuff. Don't do that. Okay. Couple of important things that people mess up on. Proofread your paper carefully. So if you plan to bring it here, let's say on Monday, April 30th, finish typing it on Sunday, April 29th. Email it and print it. And then read it carefully printed on Monday, April 30th. If you have some minor corrections, that's okay. Correct them right on the paper. I hate to see people waste paper, so correct them right on the paper. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Then once you correct them on the paper, then get them to me, to my home. Don't mail them on May 1st. I want them here on May 1st, okay? You know where to reach me. If you have any questions with this whole process, please contact me, okay? I know for some of you this is your first research paper, but think about what we've done. We gave you the skeleton of the paper in the outline. You wrote your introductory paragraph. You set up the plan for the whole paper in your outline. Now just fill in that outline, and you have all the information written on your card, so put them in, you've already put them in order by your outline. So go ahead, type it out, figure out how to tie it all together, okay? And you'll do great because you've done great all semester long. Any questions, again, make sure that you get in touch with me. You have my phone numbers, and my fax numbers and such, so get to me. You've done a great job. You've all worked hard to make yourself better writers. I'm really proud of all of you. I really am. I've really enjoyed what you've done. I've enjoyed how you've worked hard to make yourself better. This has been a really fun semester for me. And keep in mind that people judge you by the way you write. And making yourself a better writer doesn't end when this course ends. It never ends. Every time you write, you want to try to figure out how to make yourself a better writer, okay? I still do that, and I'm older than your parents, okay? So, questions? You know where to get me? Thanks, folks. I've enjoyed you a lot.